Toronto had already seen Alex Eala win big matches, handle enormous expectations, and turn a tennis stadium into something that felt more like a home game in Manila. But after what happened against Katie McNell, the conversation suddenly changed. This was no longer just about momentum. It was about survival. It was about one awkward landing, one frightening ankle scare, and whether a 21-year-old carrying the hopes of millions could somehow recover quickly enough to face one of the toughest competitors on the WTA Tour, Olympic gold medalist Belinda Bencic. Eala had just escaped a brutal three-set battle with McNell, winning 6-3, 5-7, 6-4 after 2 hours and 39 minutes of exhausting tennis. The crowd inside Toronto was loud, Philippine flags were everywhere, and every big point seemed to bring another wave of noise. But for a few tense minutes during that match, the entire atmosphere changed. Eala had taken the opening set 6-3 and appeared to be settling into another confident performance. Early in the second set, with Eala leading 3-2, she moved into a forehand and landed awkwardly on her right ankle. It happened in an instant. She finished the game, but almost immediately called for the trainer. And just like that, the energy inside the stadium disappeared. The physio came onto the court and began working on the ankle. Tape was applied. Eala sat there trying to understand exactly what had happened, while her supporters watched anxiously from the stands. For Filipino fans who had followed this incredible run from Washington into Toronto, it was the kind of moment nobody wanted to see. One bad step can change an entire tournament. For a player whose game depends so heavily on timing, early ball striking, balance, and aggressive movement around the baseline, even a minor ankle problem can become a major issue. And McNell recognized the opportunity. Once play resumed, Eala did not look quite as comfortable moving. McNell started finding more openings, extending rallies, and forcing Eala to cover more ground. The American took advantage and eventually captured the second set 7-5. Now the match had become something completely different. Eala was no longer simply trying to outplay McNell. She was trying to determine what her body would allow her to do. Then came one of the most interesting decisions of the match. Eala had the ankle tape removed. Whether the wrap felt restrictive or simply prevented her from moving naturally, the difference in the third set was noticeable. She began playing with more freedom again. Her shots became more assertive, her movement looked more confident, and the competitive energy that had carried her through Washington started showing up again. Eala built a 5-3 advantage. McNell refused to disappear and fought back to 5-4, forcing Eala to close the match under maximum pressure. But this time, Eala held her nerve. She finished the job 6-4 in the third and extended her singles winning streak to 7 matches. That victory told us something important. Talent gets a lot of attention in professional tennis. Forehands, serves, returns, speed, those are easy to see. But championship runs are often decided by something less obvious. How a player responds when the match stops going according to plan. Eala had every reason to panic after rolling her ankle. She didn't. She adjusted. She competed. And somehow she found a way through. But surviving McNell only created an even bigger question. What happens when the next player across the net is Belinda Bencic? Bencic is not some inexperienced opponent hoping to capitalize on an injured player. She is a former world number 4, an Olympic singles gold medalist, a proven champion, and one of the cleanest ball strikers on the women's tour. At 29 years old, the Swiss star has already experienced just about every kind of pressure professional tennis can create. She has played deep into Grand Slam tournaments, won huge matches for her country, lifted major tour-level trophies, and returned to elite competition after becoming a mother. And Toronto itself holds special meaning in her career. Bencic won the National Bank Open back in 2015 as an 18-year-old, defeating multiple elite opponents, including world number 1 Serena Williams, during a stunning championship run. More than a decade later, she returned to the event as the number 12 seed with another dangerous hardcourt game. Getting to Eala wasn't easy for Bencic either. She had to survive her own marathon against American Taylor Townsend, winning 6-7, 7-6, 6-4 in a battle lasting more than 3 hours. So when these two players prepared to meet, neither was arriving fresh. That matters. This matchup isn't simply young star versus established champion. It is two players coming off physically demanding matches, both trying to recover fast enough to play aggressive tennis again. For Eala, the ankle becomes the biggest variable. Against Bencic, limited movement can be dangerous because the Swiss player loves taking the ball early. She doesn't always need overwhelming power to control a rally. She can redirect pace, change direction quickly, and rob opponents of recovery time. If Eala gets caught leaning the wrong way or struggles pushing off that right ankle, Bencic has the precision to expose it. But Eala has weapons of her own. Her left-handed patterns can create uncomfortable angles. Her return game allows her to attack second serves. And perhaps most importantly, she has become increasingly comfortable playing against highly ranked opponents. This is no longer a player stepping onto the court hoping she belongs. She knows she belongs. The evidence has been building for more than a year. At the 2025 Miami Open, Eala announced herself to the wider tennis world with an extraordinary run to the semifinals. Then in 2026, her rise accelerated. She produced a remarkable grasscourt season, defeated defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek on center court, and reached the second week of Wimbledon. By the time the tour shifted back to North American hardcourts, Eala wasn't being treated like an interesting prospect anymore. She was becoming a legitimate threat. Then came Washington. Facing world number 3 Jessica Pegula in the final, Eala dropped the opening set 6-4 before rain interrupted the championship match. When play resumed the following day, Eala completely changed the match. She won the second set 6-4. Then she delivered a stunning 6-0 deciding set. That victory made Eala the first Filipino player to win a WTA Tour level singles title and pushed her to a career-high world ranking of number 20. That breakthrough changed the expectations around her. Before Washington, a deep run could be described as a surprise. After Washington, people started wondering how far this could really go. Toronto provided the next answer. The support surrounding Eala has become impossible to ignore. Her rise has energized Filipino tennis fans across Canada, the United States, the Philippines, and around the world. Tournament organizers have already seen how strongly people respond whenever her name appears on the schedule. The Eala effect isn't just about rankings anymore. It is visible in the flags, the noise, the ticket demand, and the way entire sections of a stadium seem emotionally invested in every point. But crowd support can't protect an ankle, and it can't hit a backhand for you. Against Bencic, Eala still has to execute. She will need to manage the beginning of the match carefully. Watch how she pushes off after wide forehands. Watch her first step when Bencic changes direction. Watch whether she is willing to defend deep into the corners or tries to shorten rallies and take control earlier. Those first few games may tell us a lot. Eala also has to manage the emotional side of the situation. A packed crowd can give a player tremendous energy, but expectations can become heavy when everyone in the building believes another miracle is coming. The challenge is using that energy without rushing points or trying to finish rallies too quickly. Bencic, meanwhile, will likely be perfectly comfortable making the match uncomfortable. That is what experienced champions do. They test patience, they test movement, they test decision-making, and they wait to see whether excitement turns into pressure. Still, if Eala has shown anything during this run, it is that difficult situations don't seem to scare her. Against McNell, the ankle scare could have ended everything. Instead, she reset. Against Pegula in Washington, losing the first set could have changed the final. Instead, she came back and won the championship. Against Swiatek at Wimbledon, the stage could have overwhelmed her. Instead, she produced one of the biggest victories of her career. That pattern is why the Bencic matchup feels so significant. A victory would put Eala into the quarterfinals of a WTA 1000 tournament and extend her winning streak to 8 matches. It would add another elite name to a rapidly growing resume and provide even more evidence that Washington was not some one-week lightning strike. It would also continue a journey that has already rewritten Philippine tennis history. Eala became a junior Grand Slam singles champion at the 2022 US Open. She later developed into a top-level professional after years of training at the Rafa Nadal Academy, working closely with coach Joan Bosch. She reached the Miami semifinals, broke into the top 30, produced a historic Wimbledon run, became a WTA champion in Washington, and climbed all the way to number 20 in the world. Now another test is waiting. Not because somebody needs to declare that Eala is guaranteed to win Toronto. Tennis doesn't work that way. Belinda Bencic is far too accomplished to overlook, and Eala's ankle creates a legitimate concern. But that's exactly what makes this matchup compelling. There is risk, there is uncertainty, there is history within reach, and there is a young player who keeps answering difficult questions with her racket. For Filipino fans, this run has already become bigger than a collection of scores. Every victory represents another step for a country that has waited decades to see one of its own consistently competing against the world's best. The Philippine flags in Toronto tell that story. So does the noise after every Eala winner. So do the fans watching from Manila, California, New York, Vancouver, Dubai, London, and everywhere else the Filipino community has gathered around this remarkable rise. But when Eala walks onto the court against Bencic, all of that disappears for a moment. It becomes one player against another, one point at a time, one uncertain ankle, one Olympic champion standing across the net, and one opportunity to prove that this incredible run still has another chapter left. Can Alex Eala recover quickly enough? Can she handle Bencic's early ball striking and experience? Can she turn 7 straight victories into 8 and book a place in the Toronto quarterfinals? Nobody can guarantee the answer. But after everything Alex Eala has already survived during this run, counting her out might be the biggest mistake anyone can make.